അസഹിഷ്ണുതയുടെ പേരിൽ രാജ്യത്ത് നടന്ന ഒരു കൊലപാതകത്തിന്റെ ഓർമ്മ ദിനമാണിന്ന്. തീവ്ര ഹിന്ദുത്വ രാഷ്ട്രീയത്തിനെ തൂലിക കൊണ്ട് വിമർശിച്ച മാധ്യമപ്രവർത്തക ഗൗരി ലങ്കേഷിനെ വെടിവെച്ചു കൊന്നതിന്റെ 3ാം വാർഷികം. ഹിന്ദുത്വ രാഷ്ട്രീയത്തിനെയും ജാതി വ്യവസ്ഥയെയും സാമൂഹിക രാഷ്ട്രീയ അനീതികളെയും തന്റെ പ്രസിദ്ധീകരണത്തിലൂടെ വിമർശനങ്ങൾക്ക് പാത്രമാക്കിയതിന് ഗൗരി ലങ്കേഷിന് പകരം നൽകേണ്ടി വന്നത് സ്വന്തം ജീവൻ തന്നെയായിരുന്നു. മാധ്യമപ്രവർത്തനത്തെ അനീതികളോട് പോരാടാനുള്ള ഒരു ആയുധമായി കണക്കാക്കിയിരുന്ന വ്യക്തിയായിരുന്നു ബംഗളൂരു സ്വദേശിയായ ഗൗരി ലങ്കേഷ്.
Karnataka's trajectory from a progressive secular state to a communal state has been a very interesting and crippling one.
2005 പിതാവ് പി ലങ്കേഷ് ആരംഭിച്ച ലങ്കേഷ് പത്രിക എന്ന വാരികയുടെ ചീഫ് എഡിറ്ററായിരുന്ന ഗൗരി ലങ്കേഷ് പത്രിക എന്ന വാരികയും നടത്തിയിരുന്നു. വലതുപക്ഷ തീവ്രവാദത്തോട് പൊരുതുന്ന കോമു സൗഹൃദ വേദികയെ തുടങ്ങിയ കർണാടക സംഘടനകളുമായും കർഷക ദളിത് പ്രസ്ഥാനങ്ങളുമായും സഹകരിച്ചു പ്രവർത്തിച്ചിരുന്നു ഇവർ. ഹിന്ദുത്വ രാഷ്ട്രീയ വിമർശനത്തെ തന്റെ ഹിന്ദു ധർമ്മവും ഭരണഘടനാപരമായ ചുമതലയുമാണെന്നാണ് ഗൗരി സ്വയം വിശേഷിപ്പിച്ചിരുന്നത്. അതിനാൽ തന്നെ ഗൗരി ലങ്കേഷ് വധഭീഷണികൾ ഏറെക്കാലമായി നേരിട്ടിരുന്നു. പക്ഷേ ആ ഭീഷണികൾക്കൊന്നും ഗൗരിയുടെ അഭിപ്രായ പ്രകടനങ്ങളെയോ വിമർശനാത്മക ലേഖനങ്ങളെയോ വിലക്കാൻ കഴിഞ്ഞില്ല. വിവിധ പത്രങ്ങളിൽ ലേഖനമെഴുതുകയും ടെലിവിഷൻ ചാനലുകളിൽ നടക്കുന്ന ചർച്ചകളിൽ സജീവ സാന്നിധ്യമാവുകയും ചെയ്തു അവർ. സ്വതന്ത്രമായ പത്രപ്രവർത്തനത്തിലൂടെ ഒട്ടനവധി മാനനഷ്ട കേസുകളും ഗൗരി സമ്പാദിച്ചിരുന്നു. ഇതിൽ BJP നേതാവും നിലവിലെ കേന്ദ്രമന്ത്രിയുമായ പ്രഹ്ലാദ് ജോഷി നൽകിയ മാനനഷ്ട കേസിൽ 2016 ഗൗരി ശിക്ഷയും അനുഭവിച്ചിരുന്നു. 2017 സെപ്റ്റംബർ 5 ഒരു സ്വകാര്യ ചാനലിലെ പരിപാടി കഴിഞ്ഞ് 7:30 വീട്ടിലേക്കെത്തിയ ഗൗരിക്ക് നേരെ വീടിന്റെ ഗേറ്റിന് മുന്നിൽ വെച്ച് അജ്ഞാതർ വെടിയുതിർക്കുകയായിരുന്നു. 7 റൗണ്ട് വെടിയുതിർത്തതിൽ 3 ശരീരത്തിൽ തുളച്ചു കയറി. വീടിന്റെ വാതിലിന് മുന്നിൽ തളർന്നു വീണ ഗൗരി സംഭവ സ്ഥലത്തു തന്നെ മരിച്ചു. സമാന രീതിയിലായിരുന്നു പുരോഗമന സാഹിത്യകാരൻ MM കൽബുർഗി 2015 കൊല്ലപ്പെടുന്നത്. കൽബുർഗിയുടെ കൊലപാതകത്തിനെതിരായി ശക്തമായി പ്രതികരിച്ചതിനും ഗൗരി നിരന്തരം ഭീഷണികൾ നേരിട്ടിരുന്നു. ഇതിനെതിരെ ഗൗരി ലങ്കേഷ് അടക്കമുള്ള ചിന്തകരും സാഹിത്യകാരന്മാരും പ്രതിഷേധ പ്രകടനങ്ങൾ സംഘടിപ്പിച്ചിരുന്നു. സമാനമായ രീതിയിൽ ഗൗരി ലങ്കേഷും കൊല്ലപ്പെട്ടപ്പോൾ നിഷ്പക്ഷ അന്വേഷണം ആവശ്യപ്പെട്ട് രാജ്യവ്യാപകമായി പ്രതിഷേധങ്ങൾ പൊട്ടിപ്പുറപ്പെട്ടിരുന്നു. 2 വർഷങ്ങൾ കൊണ്ട് കോടതി നിർദ്ദേശിച്ച സ്പെഷ്യൽ ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിഗേഷൻ ടീം 17 പേരെ അറസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തു. വലതുപക്ഷ രാഷ്ട്രീയ അനുകൂലികൾ പുറത്തിറക്കിയ സനാതൻ സംസ്ഥ എന്ന പുസ്തകത്തിൽ വന്ന ഗൗരിയെ പറ്റിയുള്ള വിദ്വേഷപരമായ കുറിപ്പുകളാണ് കൊലപാതകത്തിന് പ്രേരിപ്പിച്ചതെന്ന് പ്രതികൾ പറഞ്ഞതായി അന്വേഷണ ഉദ്യോഗസ്ഥർ റിപ്പോർട്ടിൽ പറയുന്നു. ഇതേ തീവ്ര ഹിന്ദുത്വവാദികൾ തന്നെയാണ് കൽബുർഗിയുടെയും നരേന്ദ്ര ദാബോൽക്കറുടെയും ഗോവിന്ദ് പൻസാരയുടെയും മരണത്തിന് പിന്നിലെന്ന് കരുതപ്പെടുന്നു.
By literature, by what my mentors were, like Lankesh, like Tejasvi, like a lot of literature and people like that. And they were angry people. They were angry when the society is not right. They're angry when somebody is pushing their ideology and asking you to shut up, when they try to silence. Now, in whatever capacity I was as a young guy who was in search of career or work, yes, I fought. But Gauri's death disturbed me a lot. It's not just a personal loss. It's a 35-year-old friendship, and it is a person whom we have grown together and who have been in major influence has been his father, who was more stronger than least when he's voicing the opinion. What has happened? And somewhere I felt that she was asking the question. The way she asked the question, you can differ. Languages we use and the anger you use depends on how desperate you are, or angry, or how anguished you are. But you can't deny the honesty in the content, in the intent of questioning. Now, when she was silenced, I felt guilty that did we leave her alone in her fight? And then when I saw people celebrating, I said, why are you celebrating? A society doesn't celebrate somebody's killing, such violence. And then the way people came on to me, and it's like they panicked. They thought I'm asking the system. I had not actually. And then my sensitivity, my perception, my life says that there's something wrong.
Say, I'm a filmmaker basically, and I mean, she used to be more of a political thing. When she came into the field, actually, she's always been an English journalist, and she was working for Times of India, Sunday Magazine, Telegraph, and all that. So, I mean, it was more of a humanitarian journalism when she was there, when she was in that. And then when my father passed away in 2000, she came in and said, okay, we'll handle the Kannada newspaper. And she was not that good in it. I mean, of course, she would read and talk. But to write language was very important. My father was a huge guy whose language was very much appreciated and his literature value was very much appreciated. So she was very apprehensive in taking it up, But then she said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And in the beginning, we remember when she would write in English and people would translate that to the paper. And gradually within 2 years, she reached such a point where she could correct her colleagues and even the proofreader and all that. She would correct the spellings of that. So that much interest she took and all that. But during the course of the time, around 2004 or 5, about 4-5 years into the line, she got into a lot of activism and active journalism. So that part which we were not very aware of, though we knew what she was going to Baba Budingiri to solve that problem, to go to tribals, like much recently she went to was the Didali, where Didali tribals were being dislocated. So all these kind of fights she's been having, against a lot of, especially anti-establishment kind of thing. And in between the Naxalites, for instance, I mean, the people are so, the social media and the people now, they just read the headline and make up whatever, they don't go into the in-depth of the story. So actually she was accused of being a Naxalite herself, or an urban Naxalite, which was so untrue. What she did was actually, not only her, it was a forum where including a 100-year-old freedom fighter is there, Devnur Mahadev, who is a fantastic writer and a very well-respected writer of Kannada, is there. So all these people made a forum, and they were in talks with the Naxalites to leave their arms and come into the mainstream society, which is not Naxalism. But people, including after she passed away, if you see the trolls and things like that, she was a Naxalite. So, I mean, it's so, they don't go into any in-depth. When she was fighting for the minority, when she was fighting for the Christians, the Muslims, the Dalits, so everything she was pro she was the one, put it in one word, she was the voice for the voiceless. So that is what she stood for, I think. And though she's been silenced now, what I feel is, after she's passed away, so many people are like translating on their own and putting it to the social media. Now Nayana publishers have come from Kerala to saying they'll publish it in English. And now the Telugu, they're releasing it in Telugu, the book of which was done by Chandan Goda, a good friend of ours and a journalist as well, a columnist as well. So it's being translated to so many languages. I think many Gauris will be born because of this. More than just silencing her, the opposite has in fact happened and should happen, I think, if it has not happened. That people will stand up for their rights. They're not going to say, okay, it's one language, India is known for its beauty and because of its diversity. Everybody could coexist without harming to this level. So I think, that's the positive thing which has happened, I think. It's called Azad. Apparently he's Meera Nayar's associate or something. It's a beautiful film, actually. It's a short film about somebody like Gauri fighting for the minorities. And he's actually, in the daytime, he's working in a factory kind of thing. And in the night, he's writing poetry and articles. And his son doesn't believe in him because they're living in a very small lower middle class kind of place. So he says, what is this writing about? We used to say the same thing about Gauri, for instance. What are you doing? You haven't made a site. Even the house she was living in, my mother had made. Office, I had fought for it, and partitioned it for me and her and my brother. So she's not really bought anything for herself. But then when she passed away, I realized the kind of people she's garnered and the kind of response she's been getting now. All over the country, people are protesting about the killing. So I'm proud of her that way. So this movie is the same thing. The son and the father don't understand each other, or at least don't believe in their ideologies. I believed in my sister's side, but I said, why do you have to be so much fighting there? But we need that. There's something called self-censorship. Why should you have self-censorship? There should be a decorum in what you say, that's fine. But if you're going to say you can't speak against the government, you should censor yourself. Why should you do that? So what is freedom of speech in that case? It's such a democratic society. So that's what this film talked about. And finally the father is found dead. And the son reconsiders, then he understands what his father stood for, you know. So then he starts writing in his father's memory. It's a very close, very much to what is happening. It's a smaller version of Gauri's. In fact, one person called Deepu has made a documentary for 1 hour called I Am Gauri. And it's all on YouTube and all that. It's a fantastic one. Yeah. So in fact, he has so much more footage. So he wants to make a longer version later. This was just a tribute to her kind of thing.
Karnataka's trajectory from a progressive, secular state to a communal state has been a very interesting and crippling one. In 12th century, we had Basavanna, who spoke much before Marx about the dignity of labor, about equality, about rationality, and specifically against Brahmin hegemony. But today, all those who claim to be Basavanna's followers are BJP followers. It's totally against whatever Basavanna stood for. In the 19th century, there was a very famous singer called Shishinala Sharif in Karnataka. He was known as the Kabir of Karnataka. Recently, a Muslim girl, Suhana, was in the news because she sang a bhajan for Tirupati's Balaji. But of course, the media always got it wrong. Because she sang a Hindu song, I saw exactly 4 messages condemning her. But media said she was being trolled. Actually, there were many more tweets and social media posts supporting her. And to think that, we were the stage where Shishinala Sharif was there, whose guru was actually Govind Bhatt. He was a Brahmin. And he had put the Janivara, the sacred thread, to Shishinala. And of course, their contemporaries had criticized both of them. But then Shishinala became so popular that when he died, both Muslims and Hindus said that he belonged to them. And actually what happened was that when he died, both Hindu rituals and Islamic rituals were followed. Even today, on his grave, every year, both Muslims and Hindus go and pray. And of course, 20th century, we had someone called Kuvempu, a Gnanapith Award winning writer, who led a kind of a movement, intellectual movement in Karnataka, where he called people to come out of their castes and communities and become universal person, And of course, we had your Ananthamurthy, Kalburgi, my own father P. Lankesh, Purnachandra Tejasvi, all these people. The transformation is such that starting from Kuvempu to URA, Kalburgi, my father, they are all trenchant critics of Jawaharlal Nehru, of Indira Gandhi, of Rajiv Gandhi. But let me say that none of them ever were physically attacked, let alone death threats. But now death threats has become a common factor in Karnataka. Whether it is attacks on pubs in the name of pubs and homestays in the name of culture and protection of women, or whether it's attacks on Dalits. Let me say something very similar to Una happened in Karnataka also, which did not make much news, in the name of cow protection, or attacks on liberals and leftists in the name of Hindutva. I know that Love Jihad is still a kind of a campaign, but let me say that because of Love Jihad, one Hindu girl has already committed suicide in Karnataka. Because the police, because the ABVP and Sangees said that she was speaking to a Muslim boy on the bus. Both the Muslim boy and the girl were taken to the police station, and then the police were trying to tell instead of scolding the ABVP guys, they were trying to give moral lessons to the girl. She was so upset, she committed suicide. And And with all these things, let me just give you a link. When Kalburgi was killed, one ABVP Bajrang Dal guy called Bhuvit Shetty, he sent a tweet saying, anyone who criticizes Hinduism will die a dog's death. When a complaint was filed against him, he said, no, I don't mean to harm anyone, I didn't mean anyone ill will, it was just a spur of the moment comment. He was let free. But year before last rather, when the state government was celebrating Tipu Sultan's birthday, the same Bhuvit Shetty, okay, it was not just a spur of the moment comment or anything, it shows how criminal he was, because the same Bhuvit Shetty, trying to oppose Tipu Sultan's birthday, went and attacked one guy called Samiullah and another guy who was with him, thinking that both of them were Muslims. In fact, Samiullah escaped, but the other guy who was with him was a Hindu, Harish Pujari, and he got killed. So Bhuvit Shetty was a criminal, and that is very clear. And of course, when Anantamurthy died, some people burst crackers and celebrated. The police arrested 5 people, and all of them had past records of having been arrested earlier for assaulting Muslims because they were transporting cattle and stuff like that. And when Anantamurthy had said that, in Kannada he had said that, which will roughly translate to, I would not like to live. It was not, I don't want to live. Okay, so I would not like to live in an India where Modi is the Prime Minister. The media made it totally differently in translation. And when Modi said that, there was a guy called Naresh Shenoy who sent him a one-way ticket to Karachi. And who is this Naresh Shenoy? He was the one who formed the Namo Brigade in Mangalore in the run-up to the 2014 elections. And like Bhuvit Shetty, later Naresh Shenoy was arrested. He is the #1 accused in the case of an RTI activist's murder. The RTI activist, yesterday it was 1 year since his death. The RTI activist had discovered that this great Rashtrabhakt, Naresh Shenoy, had looted crores of money from a Hindu temple. And Vinayak Baliga is the activist's name. And Naresh Shenoy was perhaps afraid that all his nationalistic God-fearing activities would come to light. He hired Subari killers and got him killed. And anyway, he's out on bail. And when he came out on bail, who was the one to receive him very celebratively from the jail gates? One person called Chakrabarti Sulibele, who is an RSS activist and spokesperson. So you can see, these are all criminals. And these are the guys who, a week before last, when I had organized a program in Davangere, Yogesh Master had come to that function and he stepped out for tea. They attacked him and smeared ink on his face. Not even ink, actually, it was waste oil, which was literally burning. At least ink doesn't burn. And when I met one of the boys in the police station the next morning, I asked him, why did you do this? He said, I will do this again and again because he insulted Hindu gods. Actually, Yogesh Master has not said anything different than what historians or Rienja or anyone has already said before. And K.S. Bhagwan has been attacked, and he's been under another writer and who's won many awards. He's been under police protection, and K.S. Bhagwan, the way he might express his ideas might be a bit difficult for people to take, but he has not said anything different than what Ambedkar has written and spoken about already in, whether it's Annihilation of Caste or whether it is Riddles of Rama and Krishna. And another person, Mahesh Chandraguru, who is a journalism professor in Mysore University, he spoke something about Mahishasura, who's Mahishasura, the name Mysore comes from. And again, there was nothing new than what he has said. But Mahesh Guru was arrested and put in jail. And in Karnataka today, Karnataka Images, the student unions are banned. So that's, but there is something happening in the coastal and Malnad colleges today, which the students of those colleges don't care how many Rohits kill themselves, don't care how many Kanayas and Umars and Anirbans are jailed, don't care if any Najeebs disappear or Rajni Krishnas, die. They don't want Muslims, girl students to wear burqa. And they started this revolution there. So if you girls wear burqa, we'll wear saffron scarves. This is the height of their, this is how they're communalizing the next set of voters. And the Congress government in Karnataka, as I said, is so stupid that here Rahul Gandhi goes to JNU in support of AISF student Kanaya, and in Tumkur, AISF students are distributing pamphlets about Kanaya and Rohit, and ABVP goons attack them. I tell the Home Minister, what is this happening? You just get all those ABVP goons behind bars, and then they will know that they can't sort of, wag their tails in Karnataka. He says yes, and the next minute I know, Karnataka police in a Congress government have put sedition cases against AISF students. And Karnataka government is really so stupid. Let me tell you, last year, thousands of illiterate, lower class women who work in the garment factories in Bangalore spontaneously came out onto the streets. For 3 days, okay, there are no unions, there are no leaders, no nothing, only because they were facing so much uncertainties about changes in the Provident Fund rules. The Congress government should have used that, because those women were not just fighting for themselves, they were out on the streets for all the labor classes across the country. The Congress government should have gone and stood with them so that they could use it as a stick against the Modi government. Instead, what did the Congress government do? Let the police on them who to lathi charge those students. So that's why I said. And there are lots of things I can discuss later. All of us, of course, secular forces, we are trying to sort of form network of movements, and one of the most successful ones we had recently was Chalo Udupi, of which Akila, who is here, was a major important part. And because we took the Dalit cause to Udupi as a protest against all the attacks of Dalits and Muslims, and the only response they could come up with Swachh Dalit, Swachh Udupi, which meant that, because we went there, all the Dalits had polluted Udupi, and that's the only thing was that thankfully that movement did not take off, and they were not given permission, and it just sort of ended up in clearing one street. Let me come back to the point that I started with. Elections next year, and let me tell you, we have no dearth of Yogi Adityanaths in Karnataka. Once Chief Minister Siddaramaiah said that he doesn't eat beef, but should he eat, no one should object. And there was a BJP leader who said he would chop off Siddaramaiah's head and play football with it in the center of town. What I fear is that, earlier when these things, when Burit Shetties happened, we used to think that it was some abnormal things being done by some abnormal people. But tragically in Karnataka, abnormality is becoming the new normal. And I fear that, like Uttar Pradesh, Congress too will lose next year and will be saddled again with a communal, casteist and corrupt BJP government. Thank you.